I can't breathe. George Floyd said this before his life was choked out of him under the knee of the state. But it has happened before. I can't breathe. Eric Garner said it 11 times while his murder was documented on July 17th, 2014. There is a conspiracy afoot to rob black people of their breath, if not at the hands of the police, then at the hands of politicians, policies, everyday white people in a park, in a neighborhood, at a convenience store, in the supermarket, even in their own home. There is not a place in this country where black people may relax and let down their guard against the mission to destroy them. I'm talking about systemic racism. Remaining silent is not an option. I'm pleading with white people. Stop. Stop assuming black people are up to no good. Stop assuming that you have a right to dismiss the experiences of black people. Stop voting for politicians who aim to disproportionately incarcerate black bodies in the name of law and order. Stop assuming that conformity to white culture is superior and beneficial. Stop saying if only they would comply with law enforcement. Stop saying those individual white people are racist, when all of us white folks continue to benefit from the system that favors our melanin. We must acknowledge our privilege and dismantle the system that empowers this inequality. As Ashen T. Crawley compels us, this is a violence that cannot conceive of black flesh feeling pain, a violence that cannot think, I can't breathe, anything other than a ploy, a trick toward fugitive flight. There is a conspiracy of whiteness that wants to dismiss atrocities committed against black people as isolated events. White people are willing to label these horrid events as individual acts of racism, but refuse to recognize all of these isolated incidents are connected by a common characteristic: the death of black people at the hands of white people, often white people in positions of authority. Of course, this is nothing new. Since its inception, the United States has endeavored to relegate black bodies to the periphery, even if it means extinguishing their lives. Even a cursory survey of history will reveal that black people were brought to these shores to exploit their labor for the selfish ends of capitalism. They were brought here against their will to enrich white landowners and to maintain the white social hierarchy by ensuring that even poor white people would vote, behave, and even fight against their own best interest to maintain this white order. Whiteness continues to conspire against black bodies. The conspiracy colludes around a normative white culture that favors white lives at the expense of black lives. John Michael Vlach's book, The Planter's Prospect, Privilege and Slavery in Plantation Paintings, demonstrates that those who occupied powerless spaces did so because of an active collusion against them. This conspiracy of privilege was so entrenched in the culture that it even showed up in commissioned works of art. As Locke points out in the introduction, plantation vistas tended to omit most indications of agricultural labor. The exclusion of slaves from paintings of plantations was a powerful tactic that artists used to suggest the planter's undisputed command over his estate. The insecure nature of white power demands validation even in its depiction of reality. This validation and justification were provided by various interpretations of the scenery and conditions on the plantations that often involved romanticizing or lack of specificity in the paintings. These works of art depicting plantation life function as a form of nostalgic denial of the realities of the horrors of slavery, serving to reinforce the perceived privilege of those who own the system and the victimization of those enslaved to it. Weak, insecure white leaders are still seeking to abolish black bodies from art, culture, history, life. As recent as President Trump refusing to unveil the official portrait of President Obama. This is how whiteness operates. It conspires to choke out the breath of blackness. It is a conspiracy of whiteness that refuses to acknowledge that racism infects our institutions. It continues to pollute our churches, our government, our judicial, economic, and educational systems. A conspiracy that calls the peaceful protest of Colin Kaepernick disrespectful while simultaneously applauding white folks for carrying guns and waving Confederate flags chanting freedom. The hypocritical irony, this, the only conspiracy white people won't believe, is sadly, tragically true.